Okay, so here are the notes for the quadratic formula and the discriminant. So hopefully you remember this is the quadratic formula. It helps you find the solutions just like factoring or solving by the square root method did. So again, when in doubt, graph it out. It's the two places where the parabola crosses the x-axis. It also, we're going to learn today, could be none or it could be just one place. So let's practice using the quadratic formula. It starts with x equals negative b. So remember, identify a is the number in front of the x squared, b is the number by itself, and c is the number right here. No, b is the number in front of the x, sorry. C is the number by itself. So now if I plug this in, negative b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, notice how I wrote it exactly like the formula, and then I'm going to now simplify. So now I have x equals negative 5 becomes positive 5. I have a 2 on bottom. Inside the parentheses, I have 25 plus 28, which is 53. There is no square root of 53, and it does not simplify any further, so we're done. Okay, let's look at this one. In the next example, it's not in order yet, right? I have to move the 7x to the other side, so I'm going to rewrite it. Once I move 7x over, it'll be 5x, oh, that looks bad when I do that, 5x squared minus 7x plus 1 equals 0. So it always has to be equal to 0. So now this is your A, your B, your C, right? So x equals negative 7 plus or minus the square root, negative 7 squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So then x equals, the negative 7 becomes positive 7 plus or minus the square root, that's negative 7 squared is positive 49 minus 20, so that's 29 over 10. Again, that's not going to simplify anymore, so we're done. That's as far as you can go with it. If you look at the next example here, we need to get everything on the same side before we can identify A, B, and C. So 4x squared plus 3x minus 8 equals 0, right? Because when you move the 8 over, you subtract 8 and add the 3x. So now I'm ready to plug it into the formula. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, so x equals, this becomes a negative 3 out in front, plus or minus square root 9, and then plus all this stuff, 137. Now, since you have your calculator, I would just type this whole piece, like parentheses and everything included, into the calculator as is, and you'll get 137. And then you could try and take the square root of that number, or break it up after the fact, but at least don't lose points on just doing the quadratic formula. Okay, so that's a quadratic formula. Hopefully you remember it a little bit from, last year. So this part might be new. Discriminant is just the stuff under the square root. Okay, so if it's positive, meaning greater than 0, like it was in these three examples here, it was 53, 29, 137, then you're going to always have two solutions. So two places where it crosses the x-axis when you graph it, right? That's what you'll see. So if it's equal to 0, then that means you don't have this square root piece at all. You just have, like if we look at A, you would just have 5 over 2. You wouldn't have that plus or minus root 53. So then you only have one answer. Okay, so if it's equal to 0, you have one answer. If it's less than 0, meaning you have a negative under the square root, you have no real solution. Right? Because like we talked about last class, they're actually imaginary. Okay, so how do we do this then? How do I look at this? With graphing it, you could see it. It would cross in two different places, right? But here I can just, find out if it's positive or negative. So B, this is A, B, C. So B squared minus 4AC. That is what, 48? So then since it's positive, that means 2 real solutions. If you're not sure, when in doubt, graph it out, right? Graph it and see how many places does it cross the x-axis. If we look at B here, this is A, B, C. So in parentheses, 12 squared minus 4AC. That equals 0. So if you have a 0 under the square root, there is only one real solution. Okay, last one, A, B, C. 12 squared minus 4AC. That's going to be what, negative 36? So if you have a negative under the square root, it's no real solution. Okay, moving on to the back side here. Writing in standard form. So we're coming full circle here. Standard form is just y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. All right, so to get everything on the same side. So first, you would subtract the x squared. So that's going to be negative 4x squared. You have to move or subtract 3x. So minus 3x minus 2 equals, hopefully everything canceled, 0. So now A is negative 4, B is negative 3, C is negative 2. This is actually where we started when we first started this chapter. So hopefully this part isn't new, but we're just coming full circle to study it again. So now I've got 2x squared minus, what's that, 6x plus 9? So A is 2, B is negative 6, C is 9. So in the next examples here, find the discriminant and use it to determine if the solution has 1, 2, or no real solution, meaning 2 imaginary. So we're just going to do, whenever it says this word discriminant, we're thinking b squared minus 4ac. That's the formula, right? So no number here, so that means a is 1, b is 4, c is 1. 4 squared, don't forget parentheses, minus 4ac. So 16 minus 4 is 12. It's positive, so that's 2 real solutions. All right, look at this one. Negative 2 squared minus 4ac. That's what, 0? So type that whole thing in your calculator. So that's going to be 1 real solution. This is going to be b squared minus 4ac. So 1 squared is 1. 4 times 2 is 8. So 33. And since it's positive, that means 2 real solutions. Okay, moving on here. B squared minus 4ac. I got 1. So that means 2 real solutions. Keep going. Stop at any point. I'm doing it quickly, so if you need to stop and actually try it, and then you can play the video again to check your answer. So b squared minus 4ac. That was negative 8. So that means no real solution. Or you could say, the other way of saying it is 2 imaginary solutions. So then this last one, 7 squared minus 4ac is what, negative 71. So that means no real solutions again. Okay. All right. This last part is just use the quadratic formula and check your solutions. So you try these and then you can play the video and do it again. So now you should be checking your answer to number 9. Notice in this one, everything underneath the square root here simplified to 9, and I can do the square root of 9, so I'm actually going to get 2 whole numbers as answers. All right, go ahead and pause it and try number 10. So here's the answer to number 10. So again, we have a perfect square under the square root. So when I take the square root of 49, I get 7 or negative 7. So my 2 answers there are 3 over 2 and negative 2. I'll go through the last one here with you if you haven't already done it. So negative 2 plus or minus the square root. 2 squared minus 4 times 3 times negative 1 all over 2a. So 2 times 3. So now x equals negative 2 plus or minus 2 squared is 4. 4 times 3 times negative 1 is 12. 4 plus 12 is 16 over 6. So again, 16 is a perfect square. So this is going to be 2 things. Negative 2 plus 4 over 6 or negative 2 minus 4 over 6. So this simplifies to 1/3 and negative 1. Okay. We'll end here with a little blast from the past doing geometry. Area, remember, is just multiplying. So this is full circle to how we started when we were multiplying binomials and stuff, multiplying functions. So one side is x, the other side is x plus 2.3. Just distribute the x in. This is what area would be. So it'd be x squared plus 2.3x. Okay. The area of a parallelogram, if you recall from last year, is base times height. The base is this whole side. It's whatever the altitude is perpendicular to. So area is 2x, height is x. So this one is just 2x squared. And that's all.